Good Monday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock. That means it is time for sports for CLE. Monday through Friday, we will be here with the most up-to-date information on Cleveland sports and the most pertinent sports talk with those that cover Cleveland sports. And a busy Monday for you. It is the beginning of NFL tampering, legalized tampering period. It means free agents are able to talk with teams about specifics in terms of dollars and cents and years of contracts. The Browns are figuring to be active in free agency. There has already been a number of free agents that have gone off the board. None of the Browns yet. Mary Kay Cabot was scheduled to be on with us at the top of the show. She is working on a developing story involving the Browns with free agency. We hope to have Mary Kay on in just a few minutes. We'll also check in with Dennis Gates down in Indianapolis. Cleveland State going dancing in March Madness, the NCAA championship tournament. Dennis will join us from Indianapolis to talk about the Vikings season as they won the Horizon League and they're getting ready to face the Houston Cougars. They won the Horizon League in Indianapolis, stayed down there. That's where the tournament will be, in Indianapolis, and he is preparing the Vikings to get ready for the Houston Cougars, the number 2 seed in that region. We will also check in with Stephen Means, Buckeyes beat reporter. He is going to tell us about the Buckeyes as they're getting ready to face Oral Roberts in a first-round NCAA tournament game. Our show, our first show, it's the digital evolution of the More Sports and Less Levine show. We plan to have multiple guests in each show, and as I said, we will keep you up to date at 4 o'clock each and every afternoon. Join us, and we will have interesting discussion and timely discussion on all Cleveland sports. When we talk about the NFL, now there's some things to talk about. Now, the Browns have been connected to a couple of free agents in this first day of legal tampering, and when you look at it, you're going to recognize some of these names. Trey Hendricks, free agent edge rusher from New Orleans. The Browns are one of 3 teams that have been connected with Hendrickson. The Jets, the Vikings, and the Browns all talking to Trey Hendrickson. They would love to line him outside on the opposite side of Myles Garrett and say, go get the quarterback. Another guy is a safety, John Johnson. He is from the LA Rams. Now, the Lions, Eagles, Jaguars, and Browns are all connected to John Johnson, that safety. And then this one's kind of interesting. Veteran cornerback Richard Sherman. Not likely to re-sign with the 49ers, though they are still talking. Bet on Sports line lists the Browns as 5-2 favorites to sign Richard Sherman, the veteran cornerback who could help the Browns secondary as far as attitude and everything goes. Now, it's no secret the Browns are looking for an edge rusher to pair opposite Myles Garrett, and that's where many people figure the Browns will make a bunch of noises getting that guy that can get after the quarterback and maybe take away some of the double teams from Myles Garrett, or certainly, if you double team Myles Garrett, a guy that you sign as an edge rusher that's a veteran could be a guy that is effective as far as sacks and pressuring the quarterback, something that Joe Woods wants to do with his defensive system. Let's take a look at some of the top names that are still on the board as far as free agents go. Edge rushers. Trey Hendricks, we've talked about Trey Hendrickson, was the Saints guy. And, you see 26 years old, you see the Pro Football Focus grade, really got after it last year, had a great year, really broke out last year. So the concern about him is he's only done it for 1 year, but 13.5 sacks is a pretty good way to do it. And if you put him on the same defensive line with Myles Garrett, the thought is he's going to take some attention. Myles Garrett is going to get some of that one-on-one coverage, and his sack total should go up. Another guy is Carl Lawson. Let's go to Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree is a 6'4", 269. Now, he's coming off an ACL tear, but all indications are he is doing very, very well in his rehab, and he is considered to be at the top of the list. His market, if you will, is very, very strong. Bud Dupree, the one thing you know about him, if you put him opposite an elite edge rusher, he's going to go after it and get after the quarterback. You see those numbers. Remember, he is opposite T.J. Watt, one of the elite edge rushers for the Steelers. So you bring him here to Cleveland, you weaken the Steelers, you strengthen the Browns, you strengthen Myles Garrett opposite him. Now we are going to take a look at Yannick and Gawkway. Now this is a guy that the Browns were trying to trade for a season ago. Didn't have great production, but he's very young. You see 2017 Pro Bowler, forced fumbles, the strip sack guy. Very similar skill set to Myles Garrett. Again, didn't have a great season last year. And you look at another one as we move down the list. Now we're going to get to the guy that I tried to mention before, Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson with the Bengals. You see his size. Again, a young guy, 25 years old. This would be his 5th season in the NFL. And you figure you put Myles Garrett on the other side of him, and it's going to free Carl Lawson up to do some interesting things. And he's a young guy that wants to get after it. So we're going to step aside and take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we will head down to Indianapolis, and we will be joined by the head coach of the men's basketball team at Cleveland State, Dennis Gates. Also want to remind you, if you want to get involved with us on the show, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can email us at sports4cle@gmail.com. And we will also have the Les Levine voicemail of Truth and Reason still up and running in honor of Les Levine, 216-200-6650. 216-200-6650. The Les Levine voicemail of Truth and Reason. But coming up on the other side of break, we head down to Indianapolis, and we are joined by Cleveland State men's basketball coach Dennis Gates. It's Sports 4 CLE. We'll be right back.
Tri-C is here for you. Now more than ever, you need a post-secondary education. So I encourage you to start your journey here at Tri-C. The majority of classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your 4-year plans have changed, Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line.
Welcome back.
A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get text sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
Welcome back to Sports 4 CLE, our inaugural show here on cleveland.com. We appreciate the time as Cleveland State men's basketball going dancing, and a true friend of the program, Dennis Gates, men's head basketball coach, joins us from Indianapolis, where the team stayed after they won the Horizon League championship. And Coach, I told you a few minutes ago you're a true friend of the program. You joined me on your birthday. You joined me before you're getting ready for the first practice to get ready for the NCAA tournament. Tell me how proud you are of your guys. I know it was a goal to win the Horizon League. You got it done in Indy, and you have stayed on the road.
Hey, I'm excited. I'm proud to see that the guys are achieving the goals that match their hard work behind the scenes from day one, and it matches their sacrifices. Everything that they have done leading into this point has led us right to the doorstep of an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament. What I do, it hadn't hit me yet. I look at the joy in their faces, in addition to the joy in the voices and the faces of my staff. They've done a tremendous job, and I will be remiss if I didn't mention the leadership of our campus. Harlan Sands, our president, who has been unbelievable, and our athletic director, Scott Garrett.
When you look at the challenges, there were some moments where it was kind of like, in the Horizon League, but you found a way to get it done. You get to the championship game, and you really took control of that. How proud are you the way you performed in the Horizon League tournament?
Well, I'm proud of our entire year. I think our situations where some may look at it as those moments of embarrassment or something like that, we look at it as opportunities to learn and lessons that allowed us to continue to grow in a positive way, but also continue to believe more in ourselves as we went along in these tough games. It molded us. It allowed us to show some type of resilience, but also build the amount of perseverance it takes to cut down nets and hold up trophies, which is what we were able to do for the regular season and in the conference tournament.
All right, let's turn our attention to the NCAA tournament. You get a tough one. Houston, a really good basketball team. What's the message to the team?
First of all, everyone's 0-0. No records comes along with you in the NCAA tournament at all. No ranking that decides who you are. I think both teams are going to go out there and play as hard as they can and give their very best. And once you look at that big picture, you have to understand unfortunately, if two teams are out there playing as best as they can, someone has to lose and someone has to move forward. That is just the climate of a March Madness, but it's also the magic associated with it along the way.
Have you gotten a chance to look at the Cougars? What are some of the things you look at when you get ready to play the Houston Cougars?
Well, first of all, I look at their head coach, Calvin Sampson, winning 660 wins, definitely a Hall of Famer in his own right, been around the business for a long time and has done a tremendous job at those stops that he's made along the way. His last stop here at the University of Houston is nothing short of excellent. He's had multiple years of NCAA tournament. This team that he has right now is probably one of the most underrated teams in our field of 64 or 67. But also he has a program that I believe is a top 5, top 10 caliber program when it comes to talent, when it comes to balance, when it comes to their style of play. And it can cause really a lot of problems moving forward. We have to do our job and worry about what Cleveland State does. And that's give our very best, no different than we've done from day one of the season's beginning.
You've gotten contributions from a number of players throughout the season. How important is it that collective team aspect of it if you're going to have success in the NCAA tournament?
Well, it's very important. It's very important that we continue to win by committee, that we continue to play the unselfish style that we play. We continue to execute how we've executed. I think our conference has prepared us exactly for what we could see in the NCAA tournament, and that's games that comes down to hopefully one possession. There's games that you have to maybe come back from behind, but you have to show your true character. And your true character is trying to be as consistent as possible and do the things that got you to this point.
Now, you won the Horizon League tournament in Indianapolis. That's where it was held this year. You're going to stay. You have stayed in Indianapolis, Indiana, as well. Are there challenges with being on the road for that long? I know it's what's required due to the pandemic, or is that an advantage for your guys?
Well, I look at it as it allows you to adjust to where you need to be. And we needed to be here anyway. There was no sense in us getting on the bus, packing the bus, going back, coming back, and prolonging where we were going to end up anyway. I think when you look at the difference of the NCAA tournament, we would have had to go somewhere else and you wouldn't learn of that destination until Selection Sunday. That was the element that was missing. We all knew in the country where we were going to go, but the element of what city you were going to play in, what venue you were going to play in was not really absent. I think when you add it all up, it was the right decision. It allowed our guys to stay and focus. But once again, if we got back to Cleveland, we were going to be as safe as possible, making sure we were quarantining. And what better way to be in the same city you were playing in?
What's going to be the message? You're going to go out and practice here in a couple hours for the first time. What's going to be the message to the guys when you get on the floor and get ready to face the Houston Cougars?
Well, that's a good question. The message sometimes comes from within. It comes from within our leadership within the team. And our team is a very, very special group. And hopefully they have continued to show not only the fans, but, the world who they are. And this is a moment where eyes are on you. It's just not on you, halftime or on a sports ticker. It's on you. And I want our guys to continue to do the things, which I know they will, do the things that they have repeatedly done throughout this year, but also make sure that they understand we can't move forward without each other. And that's what has allowed us to get to this point, and that's what has allowed us to cut down some nets and win some championships.
Last thing I'll ask you before I let you go, Coach, what is the recipe for a Vikings win against the Houston Cougars? Let's see if we can cook one up. What's the recipe for a win here?
Well, first of all, we got to figure out the important game plan, which we'll have a staff meeting here shortly again. We allowed our staff last night to watch as much film as they can and try to now get all our minds together and get to a point where we come up with that game plan. I believe in Rob Summers, our offensive coordinator. I believe in Ryan Sharbaugh, our defensive coordinator. I believe in Drew Joyce III, our special teams coach and special situations coach. He's done, and they all have done, a great job of preparing our team. And once that takes place, I'll have a better clue. But I would be blurting some things out that wouldn't be true, and I don't want to do that to you just for some sound bites. But in all honesty, it's going to come down to our team and individually if we do the things that has gotten us to this point.
Dennis Gate, men's has basketball coach over at Cleveland State. Best of luck. As I told you last time we talked, you're always welcome on the program. You are a true friend of the program, getting ready for that first NCAA tournament. Best of luck. Go get it done, and I appreciate your time. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, and go Vikes.
All right, Dennis Gates having some fun as the Vikings getting ready for the NCAA tournament. Well, the Ohio University Bobcats also getting ready, as are the Ohio State Buckeyes. We go from Indianapolis down to Columbus. Stephen Means, Buckeyes beat reporter, will talk Buckeyes basketball as they get ready for the dance and March Madness. Sports 4 CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
We're living in uncertain times, but you don't have to put your future on hold. At Tri-C, you can move ahead while staying safe and saving money. The majority of classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your four-year plans have changed, check out Tri-C's programs and resources, because Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Lesmerises, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
Welcome back to Sports for CLE, and we welcome in Buckeyes beat reporter here on cleveland.com, Stephen Means. Stephen, appreciate the time. Buckeyes getting ready for the NCAA tournament. They'll face Oral Roberts. When you watch the Buckeyes in that tournament, what was the difference the way they played, getting to the championship game, lost to Illinois in overtime, as opposed to the struggles they had down the stretch in the regular season?
Yeah, I don't think they did much differently, to be honest with you. They still gave everybody a heart attack every time they came onto the court. They executed maybe a little bit better down the stretch than they did in that Illinois loss. Outside of that Iowa game, though, they were pretty solid. It's just the difference is the ball rolled the right way at the end of the game. And I know that's a very simple way of thinking about it, but that 4-game stretch was really, if you go back and watch those games, it was maybe 1 or 2 possessions at the end of the game that ended up losing them those basketball games. Even if they were blowing double-digit leads along the way, those were still games where outside of the Iowa game, you can argue they probably should have won those basketball games. And so maybe they just tinkered a couple of things here or there in the last 3 to 4 minutes of the game, and they were able to pull out wins.
So they get Oral Roberts and the region, how it's set up. What do you think about that matchup? And what do you think about the way it's set up for the Buckeyes advancing into that tournament a little bit deeper?
I think Ohio State has a Final Four path, which is crazy that I'm saying that after what they were doing 2 weeks ago, but it's also crazy what they just did for the last 4 days here. It starts off with Oral Roberts. I think what scares you there is Max Asmus, leading scorer in the country, 24.4 points per game. That kid's been watching Stephen Curry and Damian Lillard shoot the basketball because he will pull it from anywhere and he will efficiently make shots. He shoots about 43% from three-point range, and Oral Roberts is a team. They're going to get him up. So if they get hot, I don't think they can beat Ohio State, but they can hang with Ohio State for about 35 minutes of that basketball game just because they're making – if they're going to shoot 35 to 43 pointers and they hit 10 to 15 of them, that's enough to keep you in a basketball game. But I do think Ohio State ends up getting to the second round where then things get a little bit more difficult. But I do think there is a clear path to at least the Elite Eight, and I think they can compete with Baylor. Baylor's one of the best teams in the country, but I think Ohio State has one of the better offenses in the country, and when it's clicking, I think there is a pathway to where we're seeing that Big Ten championship game between Illinois. We're seeing a part 4 of the Illinois-Ohio State matchup. Obviously, Illinois right now holds that series lead 2-1, winning in the Big Ten championship game and then winning to close out the regular season.
When you look at the Buckeyes, what are some keys? What are some keys for Ohio State to get as far as quite honestly, they should?
It starts with E.J. Liddell. He shot about 45-46% from the field during the regular season. Obviously, he's their leading scorer and best player. But let's just be honest here. He struggled in the Big Ten tournament. I know he was getting double-digit scoring every game. That's because he's going to get shots. He's the best player on the team. He's going to get shots. But he only shot about 31%. And a lot of that was he was banging with some of the best big men in the country, Luka Garza, Kofi Cockburn, Hunter Dickinson. Well, he didn't have to deal with them again. Unless they reach the Final Four or a national championship game, they don't have to deal with an elite-level big man for most of this tournament. So maybe that frees up E.J. Liddell to be the 16-point per game scorer, the borderline 20-point per game scorer that he is, but also be a little bit more efficient in it, not maybe have to force some shots because he's not tired from having to guard some of the best big men in the country while also trying to bang down low with them on the offensive end. So it starts there with him just being more efficient. I think the X factor, though, is probably Musa Jallow. Obviously, we don't know when Kyle Young's going to play again. He's had 2 concussions in 3 weeks. My money's on we probably don't see him again this year just for safety precautions. So a small team just got smaller. But when you have a guy like Musa Jallow who can guard point guards, shooting guards, small forward, power forwards, and even some centers, having that type of defensive versatility from a guy who doesn't necessarily give you anything offensively, but when he gives you that much, that's a big deal when you get into these tournament games where, as I just mentioned with guys like Max Asmus, if you're playing guys like that, if you have a guy on your team who can shut that guy down or at least make it a difficult day for him, that's a big boost for Ohio State. So it starts with those two, and then obviously can Dwayne Washington Jr. continue to wow us all with some of the shot making.
You mentioned Kyle Young, a local guy up here in Northeast Ohio from Jackson High School in Massillon. What do the Buckeyes miss in not having him? That's a guy that's played a lot of basketball for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, he does everything you don't want to do on a basketball court. All the stuff that's not pretty, the gritty stuff. He dives on the floor for loose balls. He guards the Kofi Coburns and the Luka Garzas and the Hunter Dickinsons of the world. He gets rebounds. He's a defensive anchor for you and all of us. And as of lately, he's your best three-point shooter, as he was in the first half of that Michigan game. So he just does a lot of the little things that really don't show up in a box score that you can't replace, that are basically invaluable, and you don't notice it's missing until it's not there. But also, he's one of the two seniors along with C.J. Walker, so you're missing that leadership on the court and that lead by example way that he is.
You mentioned Liddell. Who else needs to be a guy that carries the scoring load if the Buckeyes are going to beat a team like a Baylor that can get up and down the floor and score?
Yeah, I think their best three players just have to play like their best three players, starting with Liddell, obviously, but then Dwayne Washington Jr. And the two most impressive games Ohio State has played this year, that loss to Michigan and then the loss to Illinois in the Big Ten championship game, Dwayne Washington Jr. was driving that train. He had 30 points against Michigan the first time, and then he broke Evan Turner's record for most points in a Big Ten championship game with 32 points on Sunday. Can he do that all? Can he continue to do that efficiently? That's been the problem with Dwayne Washington, is that he is the ultimate, no, why are you shooting that? No, why are you shooting that? And then it goes in and you go, good job. Just get back on defense. That's exactly what he is. And so when he's hitting those shots like he did against Michigan, like he did against Illinois, really like he did against Purdue and Minnesota as well, that's once again invaluable stuff, especially when you're talking tournament basketball. It's all about who's got some shot makers who can show up and when you 6 games in a row. Can he continue to do that and not have one of those games where he's 2 of 17, where all of a sudden those shots that are bad shots aren't falling, so now they're hurting your team? But then Justice Sueing continuing to be the versatile offensive player that he is, he can rebound for you. He can get 10 rebounds whenever he needs to. He can help you as a scorer. He averaged 10 points a game this year. He can be the playmaker. He's the starting point guard and basically plays point guard the first 4 minutes of each half before C.J. Walker comes in and takes over. So if those 3 guys show up, this is what the tournament's about. Depth gets you through a season, but your great players are going to get you hardware. So if those 3 players are playing well, I like Ohio State's chances of a deep run.
Last thing I'll ask you, how impressive do you think the coaching job that Coach Holtman has done? We mentioned, things could have gone, either way late in the year, but you lose those games and then you hit the tournament time and you start going forward again. There's some talent in coaching that enables you to do that.
I think this team learned a lot about itself over the last 7 games here, Holtman included. I think he made some mistakes on some play calls and put some guys in some positions they didn't belong. He'll say that's just Twitter coaching, but that is what it is. But also, he had some moments here where it's clear, okay, I learned from that. When he put C.J. Walker in a position against Purdue to shoot a game-winning shot by driving to the hole amongst the trees, that probably wasn't the best decision, which is why C.J. Walker ends up losing the ball and we go to overtime. Well, the next time we see that exact same play call, he puts Justice Sueing in that situation, a 6'7", 215-pound guy, and they end up with an and one to take the lead and basically stay into that Illinois game and force overtime in that situation. And so great coaching, but also some learning by both the players and how to be better in some of these clutch situations, but also from Holtman and his coaching staff on who to put in some of these situations to make sure you get the best possible result.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at is Coach learned a lot about his team and figured out how we best use these guys to end up with a win, which is the goal ultimately.
Yeah, look, this was impressive. Whether it gave you a heart attack or not, the fact that they were up 15 points and 12 points and 17 points and whatnot, that's Big Ten basketball at the end of the day, and they pulled out these wins. But to see where this team was literally last Sunday, when they were on a 4-game losing streak and we're wondering, is this team fake good? Are they going to get upset in the first round of the NCAA tournament? And now all of a sudden we're going into Sunday's game and people in our text description are asking, hey, can this team get a number one seed? The complete 180 that this team has taken is kind of immaculate in a way, but also they showed these signs of what their ceilings were earlier in the season, and we also saw what their floor was late. And so now I think they're ready. They're battle tested and ready for March Madness in a way that maybe some of these teams aren't, just because of what they've had to play the last 7 games of the season.
Stephen Means, Buckeyes beat reporter here on cleveland.com, as well as in the pages of the Plain Dealer. As always, Stephen, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight on the Buckeyes. Thanks for joining Sports 4 CLE. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Stephen Means, Buckeyes beat reporter. Time to switch gears a little bit. Developing story with the Browns. Reportedly a free agent headed to Cleveland as Andrew Berry doing some work. We're going to take a quick time out on the other side of the break. Mac Robinson will join us to talk Browns football and some free agent news. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Tri-C is here for you. Now more than ever, you need a post-secondary education. So I encourage you to start your journey here at Tri-C. The majority of classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your 4-year plans have changed, Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get text sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
It is a developing story. The Browns getting set to announce the signing of a free agent. And if you believe Twitter, it will be John Johnson, a safety, as the Browns getting set to announce that. Couple of sources reporting it. You see Mike Garofalo, and you see the deal. 3 years, $33.75 million, $24 million of it guaranteed. He is considered a younger, very versatile safety. Former third rounder, played with the LA Rams, was somebody that we told you at the top of the show the Browns were interested in. There you see, 25 years old. This will be his 5th season, passes defended. You see the Pro Football Focus grade, 8 interceptions in 54 career games. Played every snap with the Rams last year. So the ability, the biggest availability is the biggest ability that you look for. And John Johnson, every snap for the Rams. Time to welcome in to the show Mac Robinson. Mac, appreciate you hopping on with us. As news is breaking, Mac is the producer for 92.3 The Fan, also part of the Browns Brawl podcast. So, Mac, appreciate it. John Johnson fits the profile of what the Browns likely were looking for, a young guy whose trajectory in the NFL is up. What do you think of the signing of Johnson and how he fits in what the Browns want to do? I was having a little bit of trouble with the audio of Mac, and there we go.
There we go.
All right,
good?
There you go, Mac.
Okay,
Yep.
Sorry about that.
That's good.
Yeah, so John Johnson fits the bill with what you're looking for from Andrew Berry. You know, a lot of young players, 25 years old, like you said, only 4 years in the NFL so far, but the 25th overall graded player when it comes to free agency from Pro Football Focus. Somebody who, as Field Yates from ESPN has noted, you know, great leadership, great intangibles, one of the better players on the free agent market when it comes to the safety position, when it comes to instincts. And on top of that, too, I mean, Joe Woods, when he came in, had said that he wants to run a dime package from his base defense. And so adding in that three safety combination between Grant Delpit, Ronnie Harrison, and now John Johnson, I mean, it's a great combination, and I don't think that they're done on defense whatsoever.
You mentioned the dime package. 6 defensive backs would be 3 safeties. You replace a linebacker. When you talk about, Grant Delpit, so you add Johnson, Grant Delpit, you didn't have that. That's, in essence, adding 2 pretty highly thought of young players to the defense just like that. And as you mentioned, Browns still have plenty of room to maneuver some more.
Yes, for sure. And on top of that, you know, other teams have been dealing with restructures when it comes to contracts. You've seen the Saints having to do a ton of that just to get back from near $100 million over the cap just to get back to zero. And on top of that, they're trying to free up some more when it comes to Marcus Williams and other players as well. But on top of that, you know, the Browns, they still have restructure ability. They still have Sheldon Richardson, who you could kind of extend and lower that cap hit. On top of that, you have Odell Jarvis, who also could take restructures, as well as Joel Bitonio and J.C. Tretter as well.
Yeah, and again, the Browns did not go crazy with the money that they gave John Johnson. Again, it's market value. It's not like they underpaid for him, but they had over $25 million in cap space, and as you mentioned, they can still work around and find some more money as well. Are you surprised? Do you expect a big-name edge rusher to be a free agent addition as well?
So from what I have been hearing, they were in on Carl Lawson. We're still waiting to hear on that. I know that they were talking to Trey Hendricks. That's been reported by multiple people as well. So when it comes down to it, I think the Browns can still land a big fish. But if they don't, there's still enough depth in this overall class to where I think the Browns can still come out pretty well, honestly. Last year, their top target was a Jadeveon Clowney or a Yannick and Gawkway through trade. This year, you know, Yannick and Gawkway is kind of in that 1B category, and it seems like Clowney's in that second tier of edge rusher. So there's more depth overall. So even if they don't necessarily get the Carl Lawson or the Trey Hendrickson, I'm not worrying too much for the Browns because I still think there's a ton of value out there that could help out the Browns in the long run.
How important do you think it is that you get a veteran edge rusher? You know, they're going to have the 26th overall pick. They may very well take an edge rusher with that. But is it important to get somebody who has NFL experiences, has had some success, just so you're not, you know, allowing teams to load up on whichever side Myles Garrett ends up rushing from?
I think it's very important, especially after they cut Adrian Claiborne. I think if Claiborne was still here, you might have seen them not necessarily go as hard when it comes to edge rushing. Now, I'm not going to say that that would deter them from signing a big name free agent, but that might deter them from maybe taking in edge rusher in the second round or the third round if you already land a big name. I could see them still double dipping when you talk about free agency, landing somebody, and then also still getting somebody in the draft to add that overall depth. Because when you have just Myles Garrett, you have Porter Gustin, and you have Curtis Weaver, who they traded for last year, you really don't have much there. So for the Browns, I expect them to go hard after edge in the draft and in free agency, and at least bring in 2 edge rushers this offseason.
You at all thinking the possibility of Andrew Berry putting something together and acquiring somebody via trade? Potentially, he's certainly a guy that likes to trade more so than most football GMs. And the league is kind of starting to move that way a little bit more than it has in the past.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me at all. I think it has to be the right situation, though. And one that did pop up earlier today was Danielle Hunter from Minnesota. That would not shock me if the Browns jump into that. Obviously, they had talked about Yannick and Gawkway last year, trying to trade for him multiple times. But when it comes to Danielle Hunter, he's looking for a new contract. It wouldn't shock me if the Browns go ahead and make a deal for that where, he's still young enough to where it makes sense to add him in. And on top of that, you add a little bit more money on top of that. All of a sudden, he's one of the most productive edge rushers in the NFL, period, to the point where he was getting as many pressures as you had seen in J.J. Watt's top-tier seasons. So I look at Danielle Hunter as a possible trade target for the Browns, and I think it would make a lot of sense, especially given his history with Joe Woods in Minnesota.
Yeah, and the other thing that the Browns have that would be a valuable trade commodity would potentially be David Njoku. That would free up that $6 million contract. You already have Hooper, and you also have Harrison Bryant, who is a rookie that they like. Now, they do value that, but that's a guy that I think, if Andrew Berry was getting what he wanted, he might be willing to part with somebody like a David Njoku.
I could see that as well. I think that for them, I don't think that they're going to take less value, obviously. I don't see Andrew Berry as being one of those types of people to go ahead and maybe sell off somebody for a little bit cheaper just to get him out. I think that they value him. I think that he has a great skill set. And to be honest, he was one of the best tight ends on this roster. And even outperforming Austin Hooper, who was the big ticket free agent item last year. So for them, I don't see them getting rid of him unless they're getting a good value back. But at the same time, with Drew Rosenhaus as his agent, it wouldn't shock me to see them move on from him as he did ask for that trade last year. And knowing how much he's probably going to be asking for, it's probably going to be best to move on from him. Although I would like to see how he fits into the offense full-time next year.
Yeah, he definitely has an outstanding athletic skill set. Mac Robinson, stick around. Let's do one more segment. We'll talk to you about how Baker Mayfield, how his extension and new contract may be affected by that big Dak Prescott deal. Mac and I are going to take a quick time out. It's Sports 4 CLE. We'll be right back talking more free agency and Browns football when we return.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
We're living in uncertain times, but you don't have to put your future on hold. At Tri-C, you can move ahead while staying safe and saving money. The majority of classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your four-year plans have changed, check out Tri-C's programs and resources, because Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Lesmerises, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, Become an Ohio State Tech subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
Welcome back to Sports for CLE, our initial Sports for CLE edition here, and we're going to welcome back in Mac Robinson, who is the host of the Browns Brawl podcast. Mac, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. One team that has been exceptionally busy in this first day of free agency has been the Patriots with Bill Belichick. It doesn't matter who the GM is, Bill Belichick's making the decision. Jonnu Smith signs a 4-year, $50 million deal. That's a tight end. Edge rusher, Matthew Judon, 4 years, $56 million. Former Raven, by the way. They also signed Devin Godcho, who is a defensive tackle from the Dolphins, 2 years, $16 million. And Jalen Mills, really versatile cornerback, 4 years, $24 million. So Bill Belichick, and again, none of these deals are all reported. They haven't been finalized. There has to be physicals and everything. But Bill Belichick did not like not making the playoffs, and he went out and spent the money that he had on the salary cap and used it up pretty quickly. They actually got some very good talent and at positions they needed. The Patriots are going to be right back in the mix as soon as they figure out who's playing quarterback for them.
Right, exactly. I mean, hell, the way that Bill Belichick was rolling around today, you would have thought that he just got the stimulus check. I mean, the way that they were spending, obviously Matthew Judon, big-time edge rusher for them. And the key part of this was that them signing Jonnu Smith and Matthew Judon, that was actually the most that they've ever spent at a defensive position and at the skill position, which, again, given the entirety of that dynasty, is wild to think about. But the way that Bill was spending today, it really was interesting to see how this all turned out, and the way that they were going ahead, throwing the money around constantly. I loved what Belichick was doing today. And aggressively attacking the defense. Obviously, they're bringing back Cam Newton, it seems like, 1 year, about $14 million. So for them to go ahead, look at the defense and think, okay, let's get this done. Let's take care of the defense. Not necessarily have to worry and rely on Cam Newton as much. And now you add more versatility onto defense. You add more pass rush. And you give Cam Newton a top weapon in Jonnu Smith. I love what Bill Belichick has done so far, especially given the fact that he finally can crack open that piggy bank.
Yeah, the other thing that the Ravens did, or the Ravens lost, so they lost Judon, but the Ravens added Kevin Zeitler, former Brown tackle who played with the Giants, was part of that Odell Beckham Jr. trade. He signs with the Ravens, so the Ravens lose an edge rusher, but they kind of solidify the middle of that offensive line, which they really needed to do.
Yeah, and especially when you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, you really need to worry about protecting him up front, not necessarily taking as much of that interior pressure. And on top of that, too, obviously, they've had Orlando Brown Jr., who had asked for a trade earlier in the offseason. He wants to play left tackle. So, for him, they've been kind of looking at moving him possibly. So adding in Zeitler solidifies that offensive line, takes away one more need that you really have to worry about. And for the Ravens, at that point, now you can go ahead. You can focus on adding a wide receiver. It seems like they've been in on Kenny Golladay, possibly could have been in on Juju Smith-Schuster, waiting on how that's going to go. But, it seems like they're going to attack the wide receiver position, and solidifying up front gives Lamar Jackson more time. That's all you could want if you're a Ravens fan.
Well, the other thing is, so Dak Prescott, the Cowboys really kind of mishandled his situation the last couple of years, and they paid for it with their checkbook this year. How do you think that Dak Prescott contract will affect Baker Mayfield? Browns will pick up the fifth-year option, and it's at a very reasonable dollar figure. But how do you think Dak Prescott's monster deal, and here you're looking at it, 4 years, $140 million. You see the guaranteed money, which I wish I was related to Dak Prescott. You see the signing bonus, and Jerry Jones came out and said anything worth having, he's overpaid for. Well, congratulations, because you can add Dak Prescott to that, Jerry Jones. But the question before you is, how do you think that contract affects what the Browns will do with Baker Mayfield coming up here.
Well, I think that it affects it in multiple ways here. So the way you got to look at this is that, for one, just looking at how much money he was willing to shell out, obviously the last couple of years he's been kind of nickel and diming when it comes to that negotiation. But looking at Jerry Jones, he's on that committee looking at the potential new TV deals that could be coming in. You could see a new influx of cash coming into the NFL and could raise those cap numbers up to where, I mean, look, in a couple of years, that might not necessarily be as big of a hit compared to what we're going to be seeing. So if I'm the Browns, I'm trying to jump on this Baker Mayfield extension as soon as possible, mainly because Dak is the first domino. The other two you got to worry about are Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, like we talked about before. Baker Mayfield in that draft class in 2018, he was the oldest of those quarterbacks. So out of anything, you might be able to get a slight discount, but you want to go ahead and beat those other two out so that you're not necessarily having to top the other deals. Similar to what we saw last year with Myles Garrett, where you had the $100 million deal for Myles. Obviously, that's ginormous, don't get me wrong. But following that, you had Joey Bosa go ahead and top that as well. So if you set the market first, you're going to have other people top said deal, and it's not going to look as bad for you in the long run. So I think that with Dak signing, I think that the time is on for the Browns, and the time clock is going and going. If I'm the Browns, I'm getting this deal done sooner rather than later with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, you mentioned the NFL TV deal, and there are some reports that it could double. And if it does in fact double, the projections are that 6-7 years down the line, it could be $280 million to $300 million salary cap. Where this year only, it's at 182.5. It's going to jump to like 220 next year. So yeah, the money is going to be there. It's based on the revenue. That's what the salary cap is based on. Well, another one another contract that has been done is the Aaron Jones contract. And the question is, again, does this affect the Browns extending Nick Chubb? Now, the challenge is Nick Chubb wasn't a first-round pick, so there's not the fifth-year option that you have with some of the first-round picks. So when you look at that, how do you think the Aaron Jones deal might affect, a potential long-term deal with Nick Chubb?
Well, I think that Nick Chubb, obviously, he's in that upper echelon of the league. However, the difference being that, at least with Nick Chubb, I think that he can go ahead. He can be a receiving back. He can do that decently well, but that's not necessarily his forte. So I don't necessarily think he's going to reach the top when it comes to the Christian McCaffrey type of deal. But this deal with Aaron Jones almost serves as like a baseline for me, where I kind of think that he's going to fall somewhere between that $48 million if you're looking at this long term of a deal, compared to maybe say like a $52 million that you saw from Derrick Henry. Those are the numbers that I'm kind of looking at more for Nick Chubb. And it also wouldn't shock me if you see him go for maybe like a shorter term deal, maybe like a 2-year extension with big money up front for him. We saw that when it came to Kareem Hunt, obviously last offseason, extending him, giving him another 2 years. So for the Browns, I think that you could see them go with a short-term extension for Nick Chubb and see where it goes and kind of go from there. But I think that you're kind of looking at this $48 million and the $12 million per year. That's what you're more so looking at more than the overall value.
And yeah, 4 years, $48 million is what Aaron Jones signed for. When you look at the defensive structure and what the Browns will do, what do you get? Do you get a sense what you think they will attack in free agency? What do you think they will attack in the draft? Do you think it's edge rusher in both? How do you think that breaks down as far as priorities go?
So priority-wise, I think that, well, for one, them getting John Johnson knocks out safety. I don't think that they're going to go safety in the first round, maybe second, but even that I think is too high at that point. I think that what you see in free agency is that it's very deep at edge, both in the draft and free agency. I could see them go heavy after edge in free agency, try to knock out that top-tier starter. Maybe then you can get into a developmental type of player coming out of the draft, maybe somebody who needs a little bit of work, and you can go ahead, take him, have him kind of develop kind of behind the scenes, and maybe be a situational pass rusher. But I think that comparatively, outside corner is something that the Browns need to address, whether that be in trade or in the draft. In the free agent market, it's not really as deep, and there's only a couple of guys right near the top that I think would be worth it. And even then, I'm not necessarily sure if that's really Andrew Berry's forte when it comes to maybe a William Jackson III. He's around 28 years old. I don't necessarily know if he would go that far for him. I think he's going to get a big payday. But I could see them going hard after corner, maybe a J.C. Horn, maybe also a I can't think of the guy's name right now. Of course not. But no, like there's a bunch of different corners. Obviously, Asante Samuel Jr. That's who I was trying to think of. But a few other cornerbacks coming out this year that really make a lot of sense for the Browns. I think outside corner is where you see them go heavy and attack in the draft. And then I think that defensively, you see, obviously they've already attacked safety. I think that they go hard after edge, both in the draft and in free agency.
Last thing I'll ask you before I let you go, Mac. There's some reports that Zaven Collins, linebacker from Tulsa, might be who they look at. If he's on the board, do you think that's the pick? That's an athletic guy that can pretty much do a lot, and he brings speed, which I think the middle of that defense is really looking for.
I like Zaven Collins a good amount. Obviously, people who follow me on Twitter understand that I've tweeted about him a ton. But, I don't necessarily know if the Browns value linebacker as highly there. Maybe if you see him mix in at edge and then somebody who can drop back, I could see that working out for them. If you're looking at linebacker, I would also take a look at Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker out of Notre Dame. I think he's somebody who can kind of play that nickel linebacker, also can be a blitzer, also can cover on the in the slot as well. He's that kind of jack of all trades, almost that Joker type of role that the NFL likes to use. He's somebody who I think could be worth it there, but Zaven Collins, I'm not necessarily sure if they would value him quite as much at that position.
Mac Robinson, host of the Browns Brawl podcast, also a producer, 92.3 The Fan. Mac, great stuff. Appreciate the insight. I'm sure you are welcome back anytime you want to be on, and I'm sure we will be talking to you. Good stuff. Appreciate it, Mac Robinson.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, Mac Robinson from the Browns Brawl podcast. And that'll do it for our initial Sports for CLE right here on cleveland.com. Every day at 4 o'clock, we will have the latest. If you want to get in touch with us, it's sports4cle@gmail.com. You can also call the Les Levine voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. We will have updates on all the Browns signing and free agent news. Jake Burns scheduled to join us tomorrow. We will also have John Fanta, NCAA basketball expert, a local guy who is scheduled to join us. That is tomorrow right here on Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Tri-C is here for you. Now more than ever, you need a post-secondary education. So I encourage you to start your journey here at Tri-C. The majority of classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your four-year plans have changed, Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get text sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.